But this cast, I just kind of want to talk about this. Like, we can talk about ensembles, if this is like the greatest ever, and also just like any of the characters that you guys liked in this movie, like who really stuck out to you. What are your thoughts, Brian?
Yeah, I mean, one actress, I don't think you mentioned her. She's also in Beetlejuice. I love her in this. I believe it's her last movie, and that's Sylvia Sidney as the grandmother. I think brings a lot to this movie.
Yes.
She gets a lot of screen time in this, and I think she was like in her mid 80s by the time she was shooting this. But she has a way with Tim Burton, and kind of fits into his work really well. I really like her in this, and her character kind of solves the problem of the movie, right?
For sure.
Like with the music. So that's kind of cool.
She is the glass of water in Signs.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. I mean, some actors are better in this than others. As I said before, I think the one who just really does a great job, and I love every moment of him in this, especially when he's the president, and that's Jack Nicholson, who had worked with Tim Burton once before on Batman from '89. So it was kind of neat that they came back and worked together one more film. And I just think he makes a really believable president, but he plays it just enough like tongue in cheek that you can really get some glee from his performance. And we getting to a point where we think, oh, maybe he'll be able to solve this, but no.
I loved watching him be like very loose and fun and whatever.
He doesn't get to play that all the time.
The moment when he yells at the general and he does his whole shut up.
We have to strike now, sir. Annihilate, kill. Shut up! Shut up!
Like, that guy can throw a tantrum. Like, he can go 0 to fucking bonkers so fast. It's like, I turned to Alex. I'm like, man, like, there's The Shining just came out a little bit. You know
honestly,
what I mean?
my thought was like, oh, this is like the promotion the guy from A Few Good Men got. Like, he's the president now, but maybe he's not like as angry anymore or something. But when he freaks out, he's like, shut up. I'm like, oh, okay, there's can't handle
Jack.
The truth guy there.
But I feel like Jack Nicholson plays it at just the right level. I think Glenn Close is playing it too big. Like, her whole performance is like her eyes are like this and big and it's almost like too much, like it's a cartoon. And then Natalie Portman is the opposite. She plays it very subdued. It's almost like she wandered onto set and is like, where do I go? Like, she does not have much presence in this movie. For one of my favorite actresses, I think she's great in almost everything. In this one, she's kind of sleepwalking through the role.
I'm studying for Harvard. I can't focus right now.
Honestly, it's interesting to like, there's one other film that came out in December of 96, also starring Natalie Portman, that has an equally impressive cast, I think. Problematic director. We don't talk about him very much, but Woody Allen's Everyone Says I Love You, which came out in December of 96, has Alan Alda, Goldie Hawn, Julia Roberts, Natalie Portman, Gabby Hoffman, Drew Barrymore, Edward Norton, like 5 or 6 more huge stars at the time. Also the same month, I wanted to just mention that because Natalie Portman is in both. Kind of interesting.
Yeah,
that's crazy.
I honestly had never even heard of this. And
it's not one of his more well-known movies, but it's like a
Natasha
crazy
Lyonne, Goldie Hawn.
Natasha Lyonne is the daughter in it. Yeah, so that's another movie released the same month, also with Portman. And she equally kind of sleepwalks through a role in that movie too. So I don't know what was going on with Natalie in 96.
She was obviously busy. They're like, look, we don't need a lot from you, Natalie. You just got to say a few lines. You're going to be huge. It's fine.
Yeah, but this is right before Star Wars. I believe they shot Phantom Menace in 97. So this is like right before that.
That's what she did. Yeah. Everyone Says I Love You, Mars Attacks, and the next thing is episode 1. That's crazy. But maybe she just needed to relax after coming off of, Leon and Heat. She's like, I just want to do some chill movies. I'm going to take it easy, no matter what my role calls for. But I agree about Glenn Close. She's playing the 50s spoof movie. Like, that's what she showed up for. Yeah. She's like, oh, great, I'll be the first lady. Let's do this, and then I don't know. Her death, though, was like honestly one of the most shocking to me. I was like, oh, I guess really anyone's fair game, because you always expect in a movie like, well, they're going to take care of the president and like his family. That's never going to happen. And so then the way that it happens too is like, what the hell? It's so crazy. Like,
I do think it's kind of cool. I think it's cool that Glenn Close and Jack Nicholson got to be in a film together. I don't know if they ever made another movie together, and she's just great. And so it was nice to see them together. And real quick, Batman Returns, who was originally playing Catwoman? Was Annette Bening.
Yes.
But she got pregnant. So she was replaced with Michelle Pfeiffer. And I think it's kind of neat. Wow. In Mars Attacks, we get a scene with Danny DeVito and Annette Bening talking to each other. So I'm like, oh, so it took 4 more years, but we got to see Catwoman and the Penguin together, at least briefly.
Which is so cool. And she was like, wasn't she going to be, they wanted her as Vicky Vale for the first Batman, but she injured herself.
No, that was Sean Young for the 89 Batman.
Okay.
Sean Young.
That's right. Yeah.
And I think she's talked about in interviews since, like, if I had just not fallen off that horse or whatever, I would have been in Batman and my career would have been something different.
That darn horse. Yeah.
Yeah.
And Glenn Close also doing, 101 Dalmatians in 96.
Yeah. That's right before this. Yeah. Great year for her too.
For me, that's who I love the most. This movie was Annette Bening. I just feel like she was able to just give it 100%. She's just like going for it. And a lot of these characters don't, you just kind of mentioned it. They don't get a whole lot to do, in terms of like a storyline, like some people we see so quickly, whatever. But I think she's one of the few where we kind of, we understand her a little bit, and I just enjoyed what she did with it. I think she was just a lot of fun in this movie. Matt, who was your character? Who was your actor from this movie that you were into?
Oh, man. Well, I mean, you talk about greatest ensembles, and I don't know if this is the greatest, but it might be the deepest. But put Pierce Brosnan in any movie, and he's, I mean, at least there's a combo for the greatest of something of all time. So
yeah.
He's super fun in this.
Great to see Pierce.
Yeah, I want him in the next Knives Out. But get Pierce in there.
Yeah.
Man. He'd be so good.
2 Bonds? Are you kidding me?
I don't even know what it's about, but yeah, put him in there.
You just made me realize this is a tangent, but I would love to see some, I don't know how they would some like multiple dimensions, parallel universe, Bond versus Bond, Brosnan versus Craig in one
Bond
movie.
The Bond multiverse.
Anyways.
But I was just shocked at how many, like, just how, I mean, you have this many stars in the cast, and I feel like we're still just not used to or trained to see our stars die. And so it was cool to have a movie where these stars were not sacred. And I know Jack Black really wasn't a star yet. So retroactively, it was crazy to watch him die the way that he did.
Yeah.
I'm realizing now that, like, this might be the only movie that he dies in
Jack Black.
all of his filmography.
Yeah.
Well, I guess in Jumanji he dies several times. I don't know if that counts.
Yeah, I guess that's true.
Did he survive and I Still Know What You Did Last Summer? He was in the sequel to that. I can't remember if he died or not.
Oh, and I guess I don't know if he survived Neverending Story 3 either. So
oh wow,
I've got some research to do.
Yeah.
Deep cuts.
Yeah, I'll have to look into that. But no, it was great to see Jack Black, Michael J. Fox, Annette Bening. Like, I don't know, it's hard to pick one role. But yeah, President Nicholson was so good. And it was weird to see a President Nicholson that's like should have been so bizarre, but like we've had a weirder president in real life.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
That's a really good point. Yeah. Like at the time, it's like, oh, it's so over the top and just like cartoonish. Like,
yeah.
Unfortunately.
now we're hearing a speech and it's like making us emotional. It's like giving us pause. We're like, man.
Oh man.
Yeah, I wanted to say earlier, but I didn't get to it. But Annette Bening, her character had my favorite intro in the movie. Floating on that little pink island, drinking her drink, watching the news in the pool. I loved it so much. It's like, that is the vibes I'm looking for.
I love it. Yeah.
Send me to that pool.
Living her best life.
My favorite, I was a huge fan of Jim Brown in this movie, and I don't even think he was like the best performance or the best character, but I don't know. I just loved watching him. Especially
he was the best dad.
He was the best dad.
The best
and
dad.
maybe it's because he was the most grounded, so it was like maybe I could just attach to him more.
Yeah.
He was like sort of the heart and the warmth of the movie. Him and the long hair burnout kid. I can't remember.
Lucas Haas. Yeah.
Lucas Haas. Yeah. But I just loved watching him.
Sign of the donut.
Yeah.
Yes, it's a circle.
I was so sad when I was hoping that they would like spare the donut shop.
Yeah.
But
nothing was spared.
Martians. But I loved when he was boxing the Martians. I don't know, just all of it. And him and Tom Jones playing like action stars together was just incredible.
Yeah.
I love that so much.
Yeah, their ending segment together was so good. And honestly, just you mentioned it, but the Tom Jones Cinderella moment at the end of the movie. Like, honestly, this is the best way for this movie to end.
Yeah,
like, I love this. It's so absurd that it fits perfectly.
And I'm realizing now, so watching this last night, I literally had to look up, like, is that is the Vegas guy, is that Jack Nicholson? Like, I didn't know up until rewatching it that was Jack Nicholson, and I thought that was like another person in Hollywood. So like, speaking of like parallel universes, I just killed off one of my timelines.
Sean Penn is doing really.
I thought there was some actor that was that crazy guy. Like, I don't know. And I don't know.
Who was the ugly Jack Nicholson? They got to be the
Dennis
Vegas
Leary?
guy, Mars Attacks. I mean, Matt, you just brought it up. It's something I wanted to talk about. That, like, you talk about some of these disaster movies, and you know, there's a time before 2020 where I would watch these movies and I'm like, what are you people doing? Like, that don't go towards whatever the danger is. Like, turn around. Like, people can't be this dumb. There's no way they would continue to do this. And then we live in a time where people are like, man, I don't want to, we don't need to get political. It's like, I don't want to do the easiest thing possible. So I'm just going to, like, I don't like scientists. I like Facebook. I'm like, all right, whatever. I guess, yeah, we're all just fucking doomed. Like, if this actually happens, because in this movie, like, continuously the aliens just like, no, we're cool. Everything's cool. Psych. They just like kill everyone. Like, it happens over and over and over again. And like, I don't know. I'm curious what your guys' take on this is, because I interpret it as like they were saying, you know, actually like, oh, we come in peace, whatever, but then like we're tricking them. But I've also heard that some people thought like the machine was malfunctioning. I don't know. I mean, it's not, we don't need to have like a huge discussion about it, but I like that happening over and over for comedic effect. And every time it's like, you know, Pierce Brosnan, who's kind of supposed to be the smartest guy in the room, is like, they're very like technologically advanced. There's no way they're going to mean us any harm. Like, yeah, listen to that guy. Like, everything's fine. It's like, meanwhile, just kidding, Congress. Like, like, we're going to kill all of you.
Yeah, I love that juxtaposition, them running around in their underwear like I talked about, and looking at Playboys and just messing around with people's anatomies and sewing stuff onto different stuff. And like, but they're so advanced they couldn't possibly be.
Yeah.
I also like how they had one last gag with President Nicholson. Like, you think like, oh, okay, they finally come to an understanding, and then it's like, nope.
Yeah, that's the scene that makes me think they're here to take over the world, because that main alien is like crying, and then he just kills him. He kills Nicholson, and I'm like, oh, okay.
They're just, like with all the other stuff, like they just come across like just kind of dickhead teenagers. Like, no, that's all they are. They're just like,
I love when they're reading the message from the president and they just like laugh about it on their show. You know, the guy from France calls like, oh, don't worry, we're signing a treaty. It's like, no, dude, it's not going to go well. I was just kind of curious. Like that was some of my favorite stuff in here. Just the recurring gag of them killing everyone. I just want to know, like, if you guys, what your favorite moments were, if you had a favorite scene, anything like that. Brian, I'll toss it your way first.
Yeah, if I had to pick a favorite scene, it's the final scene with Nicholson as the president. I just love everything about it. They're really shooting up the room, and he's like ducking behind a chair, and like, I'm like, okay, the security is not very good for this president, because he's just like by himself.
You can stop a laser beam with an office chair. Like, it literally melts people to a crisp. But
But I just love, we get that long speech from Nicholson, and it's so great. He's so charismatic, really, and the alien's crying, and, you know, can't we all just get along? And then I like that he doesn't just get shot. Like he gets this thing and it starts going up around his back, and then it just like pierces through his stomach, and he's like, oh! And like, I think even a movie like this, we're not trained as audience members to think that Glenn Close, the first lady, is going to die in a very extreme way, like you mentioned. And then Jack Nicholson, the president, is going to die. I think you watch this movie assuming at least Nicholson will make it to the end, and he doesn't. Yeah. It's crazy. I love that scene.
Yeah, that's true. Yeah, these movies sometimes with the ensembles, it can be hard to like find a protagonist to like stick with, because you think it's Nicholson, he's the president. I don't know. I'm with you on that. It was a funny death. That Glenn Close one still just takes the cake for me. That was just so weird.
It was the most shocking, and it was the only one that I guess like in a secondhand sort of way, she dies at the hands of the aliens, but you know, it's the only one that's like, a secondhand death, I guess, you know what I mean? I think my favorite part or favorite line or scene from the movie is when the aliens have the translator and they're running around, and this to me would show why the machine was working. They're just being dicks, but do not run, we are your friends, as they're just murdering everyone and the city's on fire. Like,
Don't run. We are your friends.
I wish they'd only done that joke once, because the second time I was like, no, they ruined it. But the first time that was the only gut bust up laugh that I had in the whole movie. It's just, I don't know, so silly, so fun.
What about you, Matt?
I mean, we kind of already talked around sort of my favorite parts, but the parts that I really liked were some of the dialogue, just the absurd dialogue with the way people are reacting to this, in the trailer when they're having the argument about whether they should save the grandma. And the kid's like, we have to go save grandma. And they're like, no.
Martians just blew up the donut shop.
You kidding me?
Should I go get grandma?
Oh, forget grandma. She's halfway to outer space already. Here, lock and load.
I'll tell you one thing. They ain't getting a TV.
Nope. They're on her own.
So, and yeah, that was clever that she ends up being the one who brings it all down,
Yeah.
And also, it sounds like John Krasinski was paying attention to this movie because he ended up being heavily inspired by it for A Quiet Place. I haven't heard him give credit to it.
I still haven't seen that, but
give credit where credit's due, John.
Hey,
you've been exposed.
Come on, Jimothy.
I did love the gag of the aliens lining up the laser on her head and just that whole slow build up. They're not going to do it. That's the one time in this movie I felt all right, they're not gonna shoot grandma point blank in the head here. That was to me when it's okay, she's the only one that's gonna be safe, because I couldn't remember who wins and who dies or who loses, whatever. So all the grandma stuff was a lot of fun for sure.
I also feel like we should mention the kiss between Pierce Brosnan and Sarah Jessica Parker is pretty memorable.
Yes.
That's a scene also, I don't think we've ever seen in a movie.
Yeah.
No.
How did they act that? I guess maybe they were just literally rolling on their shoulders or something. But I don't know how they pulled that off.
Yeah, that storyline just kind of went off the rails. But in a movie like this, it's that makes sense. I get it. We were kind of talking about it. We've been talking about it the whole time. Brian gave this IMDb synopsis, but we talk about podcasts, Brian, I'm sure you kind of experience the same thing, but people are like, oh, what movie are you watching? And you kind of tell them, it's you gotta, people just want an elevator pitch. They want to why they should watch the thing that we're talking about. I'm kind of curious what you guys would do for your elevator pitch on this. As we've been discussing, it's it's not a full comedy, but it's not also a full 50s spoof satire thing. I'm just kind of, how would you guys sell this to people to watch Mars Attacks? Brian, what would you tell people?
I would say, I feel like most people know Tim Burton's work by now, if you're watching movies at all. So I would just say it's Tim Burton's nod to the 1950s kind of cheesy science fiction alien invasion movies with Jack Nicholson's in it, Annette Bening's in it, Michael J. Fox, and I would just read maybe 12 of the actors' names, and that should get people interested enough, right?
Yeah, I think so. Yeah. You get a Bond in there, you get the Joker in there, check it out. I'm with you. I think it's just this to me is Tim Burton got to make the movie he wanted to make about 50s horror movies.
Yeah. And in a way, I feel like the passion that comes through Tim Burton in this movie, I'm not sure we've seen it in a movie he's directed since.
Yeah, you can tell he's having fun.
Even though I have some issues with Mars Attacks, I think it's very flawed. You can tell the passion and the love of this material from Burton that I don't think we see in a lot of his work since 96.
Yeah, I think it's definitely his silliest movie. And you can, like you said, you can tell he's having a lot of fun. And for me, I would just say, if you like sci-fi and you're in the mood for something silly, that you're not going to find anything that checks both of those boxes much better than Mars Attacks does. And like you said, it's fun to see some A-listers just being weird and goofy. And there's gotta be some drinking game you can make out of this movie. I don't know what it is. You couldn't take a drink every time you hear the word act. You die.
I was going to say, but maybe every 5 acts you could take.
Maybe every double cross you take a shot or something. I don't know. But if you're hanging out, you just want something fun to throw on. You'd be hard pressed to find something better than this.
Yeah.
I would say if you like alien invasion movies where it seems there's no weakness and that all hope is lost, but you find out that sound kills the aliens, specifically a type of music kills the aliens, check this one out. So those of you who are coming off of A Quiet Place and A Quiet Place 2, add this to the queue. This one, throw this on the queue. This is right up your alley. Yes.
Prequel. Brian, I think your point is honestly like one of the best ones on this whole episode. Is just like, this does seem like such an earnest movie from him. Like it came from the heart. Because I have his IMDb pulled up. I mean, we got Pee-wee, Beetlejuice, Batman, Edward Scissorhands, Batman Returns, and Ed Wood. And I think honestly, those are just like that's a great start. Run. That's amazing. That's an amazing first 5-6 movies. Then we do Mars Attacks, and then it goes to like Sleepy Hollow, arguably my least favorite remake of all time, Planet of the Apes, Big Fish, Charlie and the Chocolate Factory. It's like all these other things, you know, Alice in Wonderland. And then, yeah, I guess most recently he did Dumbo, you know, which again is kind of like based off like an existing IP. And I think we see that so much now, and he's done that quite a bit. And I think a lot of directors are that's just kind of the game right now, especially if you want to do any like Marvel, DC, anything like that. You're going to do something based off an existing IP, whether it's a book or not. This one, surprisingly, like again, the research, like this was based off of some trading cards from 1962 that were called like Mars Attacks. And, you know, parents, as they're wont to do, freaked out, you know, and got them like banned and pulled off the shelves and stuff because they're like, oh, they're too gruesome, whatever.
Was it is it like a Magic the Gathering type thing where you like play against each other, or are they just collectibles? It was just like, just like collectibles, like, and like they have the number on the front where it's like number 1, like the invasion begins, and one of the cards had like the cows on fire, which was like the nod to the beginning of this movie when all those cows come running through. So, you know, it's like a deep cut. If you know the cards, that makes sense to you. If you don't, then it's just like, it still works. And it's like, oh yeah, these aliens are whatever, you know, killing these cows. But I just thought it was interesting to have such like, this feels like one of the first non-literature IP references for a movie. It's something that just seemed crazy to me. But now like we have Patrick Stewart playing the shit emoji, you know, in the Emoji Movie. Like we have all these, like we have Battleship with like, you know, Justice for Taylor Kitsch, but you know, all this kind of stuff that looks like, how are they making a movie out of this? This is kind of insane. But I guess just to like feed the beast here, I want to hear what you guys like. What's some IP that hasn't been touched yet that you think might make a good movie? I don't know. There's so much out there. Brian, what would be your pick?
Yeah, my pick would be the work of Robert McCammon, one of my favorite novelists. He wrote a lot of horror novels. I don't know if there's any that you guys would know, but my favorite book of all time is from 1991 or 92, I want to say, and it's called Boy's Life. It's a book I read in high school, and it's kind of like Spielberg, E.T. kind of a story. It's like 600 pages, and it's got a murder mystery. And he wrote an amazing apocalyptic horror novel called Swan Song that's very much like Stephen King's The Stand. And that was published in the late 80s. And he has some series that he's published in the last 15 years. I think he is a stellar writer. His work, I've read almost everything he's done. And I don't believe anything he's ever written has ever been adapted into a movie or a show. So I'm like telling people, like, Robert McCammon, look at his work.
Get it on Kickstarter.
Someone needs to do a limited series of Boy's Life. It would be spectacular.
Okay, I gotta check that out. Yeah. I one of my favorite books or book series is by Stephen King. I don't know if you've read the Dark Tower series. It ties in heavily to The Stand. I love that series of books. And I just wish they'd make like a Game of Thrones style series out of it.
Not the movie.
As far as I'm concerned, that movie doesn't exist. I've never even seen it. I probably won't.
So bad.
And there's also a bunch of Nintendo games that I think would be fun. Like, what with the new Space Jam coming out, like, I feel like NBA Jam could be a funny adaptation or a cool adaptation. Or like Mario Kart. It seems like almost weird they haven't done, and maybe they have, I just don't know about it, but like some sort of, you know, Days of Thunder Mario Kart movie. I think that'd be pretty fun.
Well, there is the movie Super Mario Brothers with Bob Hoskins from 93.
Right. Yes.
And John Leguizamo.
John Leguizamo.
Dennis Hopper? He's
Dennis
the bad
Hopper
guy, right?
is like Bowser or whatever.
Yeah.
It's so ridiculous. Yeah, Mario Kart would be fun. That'd be. I'd like to see. I don't know how they would do that, but that'd be cool.
Hollywood can do anything. I believe in them.
They will do anything.
Sonic the Hedgehog. They did Sonic the Hedgehog with Jim Carrey. So you never know.
Ben Schwartz, my guy.
Mine would probably be, I mean, we've seen Clue. We saw Battleship. Have they made a Monopoly movie?
Not yet.
I mean, Parker Brothers is shoving Monopoly down our throats. I am surprised that they have not made a movie out of it, of some kind. I'd like to see a life adaptation of Magic School Bus. You know,
that'd be cool.
Make it weird. Have Taika do it or something. Make it James Gunn. Make it bizarre. And Zelda. You know, The Legend of Zelda has not been adapted into a movie.
I almost feel like that one's too sacred. Like a studio would be afraid to do it because the true fans of Zelda I think they'd lose their minds. But they could do it and do it well. I don't know.
Nothing sacred to Hollywood.
You know what I'm still surprised that they never made into a live action movie is the Jetsons. I thought that was coming.
Oh
They did the Flintstones in '94.
Yeah.
And I thought the Jetsons would be next and they never did it. Kind of surprising.
That is surprising.
Yeah.
I wonder if someone owns the rights to it, just refuses to let it go or something.
Oh, okay.
Get Seth Meyers to be the dad.
Yeah, I'm surprised they have, because they did the Yogi Bear movie. Like Hanna-Barbera, they're not above making movies about this stuff.
Yeah.
Now it seems like a great time. I feel like every single thing in the world has its own Monopoly version now. You know, like you said, Matt, where it's just like go to the mall and they're like, oh, Utah-opoly. It's like nobody wants this. Even people in Utah don't want this. Like, I don't understand why people made this.
Yeah.
we have a Reno-opoly board game.
Do you have a Reno-opoly?
It's still in its seal. We have not opened it.
Collector's edition. Save it, you know. I, like a real asshole, did not even think about my answer for this, so I'm just like, yeah, all of you guys are great. I'm gonna hop onto that.
Don't talk about my friend Ben that way.
This isn't an IP, but I am in the middle of reading Walt Disney's biography, and it seems like something that will never get made with the power that the Disney Corporation has. But like just a real true story about Walt and like his rise and, you know, the way he treated people early on in the studio. Like I love this book because it's, you know, I read the reviews on Amazon because there was a few. And the one that sold me was like, if you are a Disney adult and you love all things Disney, this is not the book for you. And I was like, this is the book for me, though, because like that's what I want to hear. I want to hear the stuff that maybe wasn't great. Like, obviously, he influenced the world, you know, like he did a lot of great stuff. But like, I want just like a down to the core story about him. I think it'd be really interesting. And I just don't know that we're ever going to see it. I can't imagine how that would ever happen, but not necessarily IP, but it's the only thing I can come up with right now because I'm really enjoying the book. And I just think it'd be a great topic for a true biopic. So, but I love all that. And now, I just want the Jetsons movie. So
I know.
I think
that's a good call. I am genuinely surprised they've never done that.
We got the technology, you know?
Yeah.
We can do it. All right. We've talked about Tim Burton quite a bit. Now, one of my favorite segments that we do here is I want to get into our Rushmore Mountain.
These are OR scrubs.
Oh, are they?
And we are going to do our Tim Burton movies.
We're going to blow it up.
We're going to blow it up. It's going to happen. So Tim Burton just being involved with it, director, producer, whatever you want. I just want to hear all of our top 4 Tim Burton projects. And Brian, we will start with you.
All right. So I wasn't sure if Nightmare Before Christmas counted because he didn't actually direct that movie. That would probably be somewhere in the top 4, if not number 5. But for films that he directed, my favorite 4 of Tim Burton's would be number 4 would be Ed Wood, which I think is one of his strongest works, like dramatic works. You know, he did like Big Fish and he did Big Eyes, the big movie. But I feel like of his dramas, like the smaller films, I think Ed Wood is the strongest one. It's a great performance by Johnny Depp, and Martin Landau won the Oscar for Best Supporting Actor. He is great as Bela Lugosi in that.
Yes. Yeah.
So it's not one I necessarily like revisit a lot. I mean, it's slower. It's like more of a human story, but Ed Wood is really great. My number 3 would be Edward Scissorhands, just a beautiful film, beautiful like fantasy fairy tale kind of movie. Winona Ryder, Johnny Depp again. Johnny Depp appears in a lot of his work.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's like any Tim Burton movie without Johnny. It's like, what's going on? But Edward Scissorhands. The ending with Anthony Michael Hall always bothers me a little bit. It goes a little bit too violent, I think, at the very end. But other than that, Diane Weiss is great in it too.
Oh man.
Just a really fun cast and premise. And then my number 2 would be Batman Returns. which I just think is one of my like favorite Christmas movies ever. Like I love the mood of that one. I like a lot of Batman from '89, but for me, a lot of that movie is like the Jack Nicholson show. Whereas I feel like Batman Returns is a little bit more focused and has a little bit more going on. And I love everything about it, the look of it, the sound of it. Yeah. And Annette Bening, I think, would have been great as Catwoman. Yeah. But I think Michelle Pfeiffer hits it out of the park. I think that's one of her best performances on film. Yeah. I just love her in that movie. She's very funny in it. She's very sensual in it. I just think it's fantastic. And, you know, I think it was deserving at least of a nomination, but she got another one the same year for Love Field. So it all worked out. And then Danny DeVito, so great. And I don't know about you guys. I still think Michael Keaton might be my favorite Batman. I just think there's something about him that I've always just really admired in those two movies, as much as I love Christian Bale. And I think The Dark Knight is the best of the Batman films.
I think Keaton's probably my favorite Bruce Wayne. I think Ben Affleck might be my favorite Batman.
Why would you say something so controversial yet so brave?
Okay.
I love Christian Bale. I think he's great. But yeah, I for whatever reason, I just love the Affleck Batman. But yeah, the Keaton Bruce Wayne is like...
Yeah, he's really great.
Like, top tier. And there was a really cool clip going around of Michelle Pfeiffer filming the whip, one of the scenes from. Did you? I don't know. That was really cool. The behind the scenes clip. That was really cool to watch.
It was really impressive.
Great. Yeah.
I mean, didn't they like? She would say if she had to go to the bathroom, they had to stop filming, and it would be like an hour, right? Like they had to like cut her out of the. I mean, it was. I can't imagine that was a very pleasant experience.
Same with
what she had to wear in that.
Yeah, Lisa Marie in this for Martian Girl, they sewed her into it. Like she couldn't even sit down. Like it's kind of nuts. And as far as the Batman conversation goes, I feel like I can already just like hear the comments of people yelling Kevin Conroy. It's like, we get it, we know he's great, he's awesome, but like
so clever, so clever.
You did it. He's wonderful. I agree with Tyler. I think Keaton's my favorite Bruce Wayne for sure. I think he fit that really well. And I wasn't like watching those movies at the time, so I can't imagine, but I feel like that was a big surprise for people. You know, this like Mr. Mom is Batman, you know, and it's just like, oh, he was solid. He's great in these movies.
Yeah. But Batman Returns, I think, is such a great film. Christopher Walken also really fantastic in it. And it's one of my favorite sequels. I just think that was one of like the creepiest movies I saw in a theater as a kid. It came out in, I believe, May of '92. So I was very young when I saw that in the theater. And it's just always kind of haunted me ever since. But if I had to pick my favorite Tim Burton movie, the one, if somebody did not know who Tim Burton was and wanted to see one of his films, I feel like the one I would show people that I think suits him the best, that just captures everything I love about Burton, and that's Beetlejuice. I think Beetlejuice is just a masterpiece of comedy, of horror. I mean, Catherine O'Hara, Gina Davis, Alec Baldwin in an early role of his, and Michael Keaton before Batman. You know, it's a totally different role for him, and he's so great in it. And Winona Ryder, and just so many great. Jeffrey Jones from Ferris Bueller is really funny in it. Like, it's just a great cast, and it's so inventive and so clever all the way through. I love Beetlejuice. That would be my favorite Tim Burton movie.
I'm the ghost with the most, babe.
Yeah, I love it. That's solid. What about you, Matt?
That's a great list, and I'm actually with you. I have a hard time sometimes separating my bias with superhero movies in particular. Michael Keaton is my Bruce Wayne and Batman, and Batman Returns, you know, it's gotta be my top 4 Tim Burton's, for all the reasons that you already said. Edward Scissorhands, I'm going to echo chamber here for a second. Same reasons. I love that movie. It's hauntingly beautiful. Beetlejuice, like you said, it's showing Michael Keaton's range. And also I think for me, like whatever role Michael Keaton's playing is my favorite version of that character. And so
you love
whether he's Batman, multiplicity. Give me more Michael Keaton. Yeah, more Michael Keaton's. And I'm super glad that he's like sort of like he disappeared for a while and he was gone, and now he seems to be back, and I can't wait to see him back as Batman again in that Flash movie. So that'll be fun. And I know, like, I mean, I have no complaints really about the other Batman. I love the Ben Affleck meme, the sad Batman meme that went around. But I mean, I was totally on board with his Batman. I'm excited for Robert Pattinson's Batman. But yeah, for me, it's Michael Keaton. To top off my Rushmore list, I would have to go Sweeney Todd. Just bringing in some of his like musical, and set design into a live action movie was cool to see.
Sweeney makes my honorable mentions list. But before I get into my actual list, I want to shout out friend of the pod, Erin Price. She and I had a really funny Michael Keaton moment working at the airport together. She saw on the passenger list that there was going to be a Michael Douglas flying on the flight. And I don't know if she saw Michael Keaton or if she just somehow, I don't know how she somehow thought that Michael Keaton was flying under the pseudonym Michael Douglas. And I wish I would have recorded the conversation. The way she says Michael Keaton, she says it Michael Keaton. And it's just, I don't know. She's a lovely person. I haven't seen her forever. So shout out Erin Price. Anytime I hear Michael Keaton, I hear her saying, no, it's Michael Keaton. It says Michael Douglas, but it's Michael Keaton.
I'm going to just tag on to that because also working at the airport with you, one of my favorite moments is when Snoop Dogg was flying through and the agent working the flight did not know who that was and kept over the loudspeaker saying, Calvin Brodus, please come to the gate. Calvin Brodus, and it's like, stop saying this. Like, he's not coming up. He is not going to respond to this. Like, one of his like entourage came up. It's like, what do you want? And it's like, oh, I just want to make sure he still wants both seats because they bought both of them. Like, yes, he would like both. Stop calling Mr. Calvin Brodus like over the airport intercom.
It's incredible.
Oh, man.
Wow. Good airport stories. I love it. So my Rushmore has got Pee-wee.
Then you're crazy.
I know you are, but what am I?
You're a nerd.
I know you are, but what am I?
You're an idiot.
I know you are, but what am I?
I know you are, but what am I? I know you are, but what am I? I know you are, but what am I? I know you are, but what am I?
I know you are, but what am I? Infinity.
No, I'm not. You are.
Like I said earlier, that movie that was like one of the first movies that I can remember in my life sort of being like a meme movie, like the whole tequila dance, like like that whole thing. I just remember as a kid just loving that and also just being terrified of this movie. I don't know why. Batman was like a sort of a life changer for me. I record like my grandfather had HBO and I was able to record it, onto VCR off of HBO, and I had my own little VHS copy of Batman. I loved it so much. Probably, I don't know if I was too young for it. I don't know. I was pretty. It was 89. I was 6 years old. But, for long live Batman. Beetlejuice, for all the reasons we've talked about, and Nightmare Before Christmas. I mean, I kind of figured there'd be a lot of crossover on these lists. But, all those movies for me just sort of, I mean, they were big movies. Every single one of them. I don't consider Tim Burton as like, my Desert Island director or even one of my favorite directors, but there's so many movies of his that were like, big and influential to me. And, all four of those are prime examples of it.
It's a shame we never got the Superman movie.
Oh, man.
Yeah.
That would have been
That would have been something.
I didn't even know that was a thing. So thanks, Matt. Now I'm retroactively disappointed.
Yeah. Watch Kevin Smith talking about the writing of Superman for Tim Burton. It's really interesting. It's on YouTube.
So good.
Yeah.
Maybe I actually have seen that.
He's like, I got some directives for you if you're going to move forward on the process. Some things I want you to do and don't in the script. He's going, 3 things. Okay. I said, all right. He's going, 1, I don't want to see him in that suit. 2, I don't want to see him fly. And 3, he's got to fight a giant spider in the 3rd act. And I'm like, let's go back to 1.
It turned into a Wild Wild West or something like that, right? At the end, like, they ended up taking the story and turning it into Wild Wild West. Wow. It was insane.
He's such a good storyteller, like actual speaking storyteller. His story about Prince and filming that secret documentary for Prince, I love that so much.
Yeah, he's captivating. Yeah, I agree with you, Tyler. I thought there's gonna be a lot of crossover, and it's not that there isn't a lot to pick from, but I think just his hits they're so high. His highs are just like, it's crazy. I mean, all of us do we all have Beetlejuice? We all have Beetlejuice on here. So yeah, that across the board, like it's a great thing. I'm with you, Brian. There's one movie I had to show somebody to explain Tim Burton, I would show them Beetlejuice.
Yeah. Yep. That's the one.
I'm with you on Batman Returns too. I think it's one of those, whenever the argument of like, what sequel is better than the original? It's like at Batman Returns. It's crazy that 2 Batman movie sequels are probably better than the first one. But I think this falls in there. It's just like, Michelle Pfeiffer awoke some things in me, when I watched that movie. So I do love Batman Returns.
Michelle, if you're listening, please like and
please like and subscribe.
Ben's a big fan.
I have shared the story on here about being able to see like a sneak preview of Nightmare Before Christmas. So that movie just always like holds a dear place to me. I think it's a great movie on its own. I'd be lying if I said that the hot topic of it all didn't kind of like bum me out every time I see it. It's like, oh my God. But it was interesting to learn that that's who Sally was based off of, I guess, for that movie was Lisa Marie, his girlfriend in the Martian girl. So it's kind of interesting. And then so I put Mars Attacks as my 4th. It's probably recency bias. I really enjoyed it. I had a lot of fun. But I think I might swap it out for Charlie and the Chocolate Factory.
Not allowed. Nope.
It can't happen.
I'll stay quiet.
I'll permit this.
I mean, I read the books a lot as a kid, and it's a stupid argument that I've also brought up on here. I hate the conversation, but it was just, more true to that source material. That's why I liked it. It was really weird. It's such a weird movie, but like, that's exactly what the book was. It was so weird. I love Charlie and the Chocolate Factory. So yeah, it's somewhere between that and Mars Attacks. I'll figure out which one I want it to be by the time we post about it. But
go with Mars Attack.
Mars Attacks. It's, Brian rules here. Yeah. So Mars Attacks is my 4th pick.
Yes.
Charlie and the Chocolate Factory is just on the other side of the mountain, though. But probably best to not have Johnny Depp's face on there if I can help it. So yeah, Nightmare Before Christmas, Batman Returns, Beetlejuice, and Mars Attacks. But I think we all have a great selection here. Definitely some crossover, but there's a reason that Beetlejuice is just one of the greatest ever. So
no Dark Shadows.
Dark Shadows, why not? Yeah, let's get into Mrs. Peregrine's School for Gifted Kids here.
Before we move on from Rushmore,
oh yeah, please.
I want to. So far we have 2 movies that we've watched on the pod that feature Mount Rushmore. No, isn't it? We've got 3 now. We've got North by Northwest, Close Encounters, and now Mars Attacks. We just need one more to fill out an overall Rushmore.
How do we get Richie Rich on here?
Yes, let's do a Macaulay Culkin round.
So be on the lookout for that, listeners and viewers. We're 1 movie away from our Rushmore.
Watch the Truman Show. It's kind of in the Truman Show. In the
photo. Yeah.
Well, it doesn't meet the criteria. I think we've all seen it, so we can't put it in the pod.
We'll find something. That's the hard part, is finding something that we don't know is in a movie that we haven't seen. But no, I think, Rushmore would be a good goal. I don't know. I had a great time. Brian, thank you so much for joining us.
Yeah, thank you.
This was an awesome conversation. Like I said, I love your pod. Please let people know where they can find you everywhere.
Yeah, we're on. You can find us online at filmat50.com, and we're on Facebook, Twitter, and Instagram. Just look up Film at 50 podcast, and you can find us anywhere you listen to your podcast. And please rate our podcast with a 5-star rating and leave a review and tell your friends and family about us. We're entering our 2nd year very shortly here. We just recorded the 50th episode of Film at 50.
Congrats.
That's awesome.
That was very exciting.
Hell yeah.
That's very cool. And everything you just said is what I tried to stumble through at the beginning of this episode. So whatever he said, maybe I'll just cut your audio out, and then at the end I'll say at 3 Films Pod. That's where you can find us and all that stuff. Thank you so much again for joining us. We'd love to have you back anytime. I love your podcast. I think it's a great idea. And just like you said, the 70s, they have so many good movies, and going into a new year is just going to open up so many great things to watch for 1972. So thank you again for joining us. Thank you everyone for your support. Like I said, at 3 Films Pod, wherever you find stuff that you want to take in, that's what we're at. So thank you everyone for listening, and we will see you next week.
Thank you so much.
I like pizza. I like it. We're gonna need a cage. Bye, Steve. Come party. I like Steve.